meditation has gotten old at this point. Like people don't think it's sexy enough. Like it needs to be breath work. It needs to be like something more, quote unquote, I think masculine or aggressive. You have to do a cold plunge and then you got to do breath work and then you got to run around and you must be barefoot and let's make sure we're eating liver at the end of the day, which I love and I do. Meditation is a life-altering practice. I teach a very specific form of meditation. I call it up-level meditation. It's active meditation. It's geared for people with ADD, ADHD, anxiety, depression, compulsive negative thought patterns, AKA like the modern day being, modern day human. Silent-seated meditation, which can be in the lineage, we call it transcendental meditation, where you have a mantra and you recite it over and over and over again. Or silent-seated meditation where you connect to your heartbeat and you feel your pulse. Or maybe you're just connecting to your breath, inhales and exhales, and you're sitting there with your hands in your lap, eyes are closed. Maybe it's a gentle body scan and you're practicing silent-seated meditation. That is going to be incredibly hard for majority of people. However, if you practice active breath work, maybe if you do a couple Surya Namaskars, maybe if you run a mile or two, maybe if you do a spin class, Pilates, or like a CrossFit, like an aggressive workout, and you get the energy out of your body, you're moving energy along the spine, you can drop more deeply into a silent-seated meditation. So I teach an 18-minute practice that's a standing active practice, seated practice, a little bit of chanting, or a lot depending on the community and the client, and then essentially preparing the body for rest. Gets you in a healthy headspace. I've had so many of my students come to me and say it helps with anxiety and depression, ADD. And the whole point, I mean, Rumi says, like, we are all here to walk ourselves home, and we need to walk ourselves home 1,000,000 times a day. Negative thought, walk yourself home. Negative thought, walk yourself home. Out of alignment, walk yourself home. And that's why these practices need to be more digestible. So meditation is not old news. It is life-altering. My biggest thing is people will come to me and they'll say, I'm going to Peru to study with a shaman and do ayahuasca. I'm practicing with mushrooms. I'm microdosing every single day. I love that for you. Find the thing that resonates. However, if you don't first have a meditation practice, like you could go to Peru, have this massive awakening that you need to call your father more. I could have told you that if you meditated with me for 20 minutes.
Right.
So I think it's so essential. The practice follow-up is an integration. So even if you have the epiphany in Peru, even if you have a one-on-one session with me or another practitioner, the magic is in the integration. So you have the aha moment and maybe you feel it for the next couple days, but you want the aha moment to stay with you for the rest of your life. So that requires a daily devoted meditation, spiritual practice.
I like that. When you get the message, hang up the phone, I think Ramdas used to say, and there's a lot of people, they keep going back to the well for the external savior, whether it's the plant, whether it's the teacher. And ultimately, I think all good teachers would hopefully want to render themselves useless at some point. Like, I don't want you to need me. I don't want you to be codependent on coach, therapist, etc., because hopefully I do such a good job of connecting you to your own wise self that you no longer need me, and that's beautiful. But I think, you know, in certain places, Austin's probably one of the hotbeds of just, you know, I did 50 ayahuasca ceremonies this year, and if you did, there's probably a problem because you're not integrating.
You're abusing the drug.
Yeah, and now it's not a plant medicine. Now it's a drug, right? Because the intention of the use, like, in theory, you could be able to have one of those transformative experiences and spend the rest of your life integrating and probably get more from the person who thinks, because maybe this is just a curse of our culture, that if a little bit of something is good, more must be better. So I like what you said about you can figure an awful lot about yourself by being with yourself, slowing down, meditation. And I actually really like that you wove in things like, CrossFit or the run potentially, because that's yoga in a nutshell, right? Like, they did all of these poses to exhaust the physical body so that at the end, when they got into Shavasana, finally, some energy had been moved so they could deeply more connect. Yoga means union, to link back to something sacred. So I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. If you struggle with just sitting down and meditating, closing your eyes for 10 minutes and think, I'm terrible at meditation, I can't do it. Try something a little bit more active. Try something a little bit more different. And there's tons of ways to skin this cat, right? What are some of your personal highlights? Like, if you had, like you had the non-negotiables in postpartum, for example, with the shower and the walk, what in an ideal world are your just core things that really ground you and help you stay connected to your center, help you walk yourself back home?
Between going for a walk and connecting to nature and showering and bathing and cleansing, there is the meditation practice, but the thing that I feel most called to share is the most healing thing ever is to stay curious. So keep reading. If you read, if you love to learn, you are going to live a happier, more nourishing, and healthier life. So the basic things, drinking water, staying hydrated, having minerals in my water. I'm not doing so many I'm not in the season of like extreme devotion right now because I'm breastfeeding and meditating. I mean, that's when I'm getting in my morning practice. I have my baby on the boob. It's like so much holier and beautiful. However, reading, whether it's fantasy or nonfiction, although I highly recommend, if we're talking about law of attraction and manifestation, get into fantasy. Having an active imagination is always going to be you're never bored, right? If you can daydream about something and get creative about different characters and ideas and flavors, you are going to live a more imaginative life, more exciting life, if you will. So a non-negotiable that I would add to meditation, to proper hydration, to eating high quality foods, sleep, although of course mine's quite interrupted right now. Read. Make sure you're reading a book that if you are awake in the middle of the night, you're excited to digest some new material. That if you have free time, instead of scrolling on your phone or watching something, you can read something. And I find that quite nourishing.